Welcome to ASSAT Analysts, the debate game show where the points definitely matter and we take things way too seriously. My name is Josh Johnson, and I'm joined here with my roommates, Nathaniel Jackson.
Yo.
And Kyle Jennis.
Howdy.
Stay tuned to find out who truly is the king of pulling random facts and arguments right out of their ass.
Welcome to this Monday's Parlay episode. We are joined by special guest Travis Anderson. Travis, say hey.
Hey.
We have a very interesting topic here, and I'm very excited for it. We're going to talk about superpowers, because everyone wants superpowers, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to go around, talk about if you could have one superpower. What superpower would that be? We're going to go ahead and start with Kyle, because I always start with Kyle.
It's a tradition.
It's a tradition at this point.
It's true. It really is. It's just part of the process. I went with accelerated healing a la Wolverine.
Should have picked a la Deadpool.
I should have, but we'll discuss it. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, what do you have?
So I have total mimicry. And so this is the ability to see something or witness it or experience it and then be able to copy or mimic that exactly. So it could be anything from a technique like playing an instrument, writing styles, the way somebody sounds, like mimicking their speech, fighting styles, something like that.
Watches the John Wick movies one time.
Exactly, yeah, and can just automatically do that.
So basically, the Matrix. You're uploading all that information into your brain, and then you can just do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Yeah,
pretty much.
nice.
That, or if anybody's seen Chuck. But
It's a good album.
I haven't thought about Chuck in a long time.
all right, so Travis, what is yours? We'll go to Nathaniel last because I feel like he's got a lot to talk about.
Mine is teleportation. Simply, and I was thinking like very simplistic. Basically, I could play more gigs. Just cut out travel time in general.
Okay, so you're
That's
thinking
true.
more kind of along the lines of, have you seen the movie Jumper?
Yeah,
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're thinking more that, where like you can
Yes,
see a
where I
picture
can
or
just-
think of a place and go to that, rather than like what is it, Nightcrawler, where he has to see the place?
correct.
Or where he has to have
Yeah.
been there.
Or okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about
Nightcrawler-
instant. I can be anywhere else I want to be.
okay, and just as long
Basically.
as you can like kind of picture the location you're trying to land in your
Yeah.
mind, you can get there. Okay.
Or pull it
So
up on
convenient.
Google Maps or whatever.
Well, yeah.
So convenient.
For real.
As long as you know the latitude and longitude coordinates exactly, you can just
Yeah.
And if
Down-
someone else
down
is
to the
standing
minutes.
there, sucks.
Oh. Oh no.
All right.
just
So
teleport inside of someone. Just like,
whoops.
unlucky.
Ew. That'd be a weird obituary.
He was exploded by teleporting man.
Nate, what'd you pick?
All right. I went with ghostification into the 11 dimensions. So I'm gonna have to explain this.
Huh?
What do I mean by ghostification? Well, essentially, I mean astral projection without leaving my physical body behind. So I am turning purely into an intangible item.
Like a
You
ghost.
can't, a ghost. That no one can see, no one can touch, no one can hear. I
Okay, so,
can't
like,
interact.
shifting into the ethereal plane.
Yes.
It's like Danny Phantom.
And what I do every time I do that is I go into one of the 11 dimensions. And the 11 dimensions is, I'm referencing the M theory of what dimensions is. There are three main theories. The string theory, which explains that there are 10 total dimensions. The bosonic theory, which explains that there could be up to 26 dimensions. And then there's the M theory, which is 11 dimensions.
How are there even this many? What?
So, I'm just going to go ahead and read the 11th dimension. This is a explanation of the 11th dimension by engineeringmadeeasy.com.
Sounds like a reliable source.
So,
He got the reference from Science for Dummies.
I did. 11th dimension. before describing the 11th dimension, let me tell you that according to string theory, there are 10 dimensions, while M theory says there are a total of 11 dimensions. But according to bosonic theory, total number of dimensions may be up to anywhere around 26. Scientists say that because of self-consistency, a universe cannot have more than 11 dimensions as they become unstable. Because of this instability, they collapse back down to 11 or 10 dimensions. The 11th dimension. The 11th dimension is everything imaginable or unimaginable. In other words, you can say that there is nothing that cannot happen in the 11th dimension. According to M theory, the smallest thing in the universe is not atoms, electrons, Higgs boson, or quarks. The smallest thing is much smaller than all these subatomic particles. Actually, the smallest thing in the universe is strings. You may think, why am I explaining the strings here? Actually, strings vibrate in the 11th dimension that we are going to discuss. Everything present in every universe of every dimension is made up of strings. All atoms, subatomic particles, muons, quarks, Higgs bosons are made up of strings. You'll be surprised to know that according to M theory, everything in the universe originated from the 11th dimension, not from the first, second, or third dimension. But what are these strings and how small are they? I'm going to skip a little bit because this is going to blow your mind. Yeah. The size of the strings. The size of the string is about 10 to the negative 33rd centimeter. So basically, one string is actually a millionth of a billionth of a billionth of a billionth of a centimeter. So to put that into perspective,
Really, really freaking small.
You would say the atom is the size of our entire universe, and the string is the size of a tree on planet Earth.
Wow.
Well, how old is the tree?
Yeah, how many rings has it got in the trunk?
It's not explained.
Well, it also,
But-
I feel like if you're talking about that much of a size difference,
So let me
a couple
explain
rings
to you,
on a tree isn't going to
let
matter.
me explain to you a
Yeah.
couple ways
It's
that
negligible.
Let me explain to you in a much simpler way how all this works. So I can go into I can ghostify or turn myself into a ghost, and I can enter one of the 11 dimensions. So if I want to, I can enter the time dimension, the fourth dimension, and I can travel through time. I cannot interact with anything in the past. I cannot interact with anything in the future, but I can view it. I can enter the first, second, or third dimensions, which are length, width, and height. I cannot interact with anything while in that dimension, but my size changes, my shape changes. I can pop in and out of it at will. So basically, I'm Ant-Man, but I can't get hurt while small, and I can't interact with anything, but I can change my shape and size, so I can become really small, I can become really big, I can change my location, I can essentially, according to the fifth dimension, I can actually teleport. According to the sixth dimension, I can be in multiple places at once. But I cannot interact with anything. I cannot touch anything. Nothing can touch me whilst I'm in this mode.
How does this interact with conservation of mass?
It has nothing to do with it because I'm no longer matter.
Okay.
I think we're all just trying to comprehend what in the fresh Sam hell you just told us.
This
I
is
could-
like the most boring superpower.
I think
I
it's
can
just
imagine.
incredibly
Well, but
complex.
I don't understand, how is the 11th dimension, if they are strings and that's the smallest
Yeah.
unit,
Yeah.
why is that the 11th dimension, and how is that different from something that exists on the first dimension?
Because in the 11th dimension, it's really, unless you actually go through and read how the 11 dimensions work and what each dimension actually means, which I'm not going to do because that would take probably at least 6 more minutes. Basically, it is a knowledge-based power. Entering these different dimensions, I'm able to change my shape, my size, my location, how many of me there are, the time in which I exist. Essentially, I become a being that's just... If any of you guys like Marvel Comics, I'm essentially like in this mode, I'm essentially like the one above all.
I was just gonna say the interdimensional being from Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but that works too.
Nah, I'm bigger than that.
I haven't seen. I saw that movie once when it came
and
out.
it wasn't great.
And like, what was that?
It's
2006.
aight.
Yeah, but
Or like 2000. I don't know.
I can't interact with anything. But if I wanted to, I could go back and watch. I could watch the burning of the Library of Alexandria. That's what it's called, right?
I was gonna say Rome.
Alexandria. I could go
Alexandria.
back and watch.
Yeah, you could watch historical
I could watch
events.
historical events.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I could see future events.
Future history.
Future history. That'd be really cool. I could be in multiple places at once on Earth. I could make myself really small. I could use it to my advantage while fighting.
So, well, no, you couldn't,
Yes, I could.
because you wouldn't. You'd
I
be
would-
ethereal.
Yes, I wouldn't be able to make contact while I'm small, but I doesn't mean I can't use it to move to. Like, it would definitely be a combat form I would have to learn, but I can slip in and out of this form.
Okay, so
I mean, it would just be like Ant-Man. When he gets small, he dodges an attack, gets big, and then you can hit him.
yeah, the difference is in order for you to do that, you would have to be ethereal, right?
Yes, for me to shrink, yes, I would have to be ethereal, but I can come out of that plane
Which is
in a different location.
Which is where my question about conservation of mass comes in, because that's one of the biggest problems that people have with Ant-Man and the technology that he uses is because it doesn't quite make sense with conservation of mass. Either he's like stupidly dense to the point where his body wouldn't function when he's that small, or
Well, here's,
what happens when he gets bigger. Like, it just
here's
doesn't.
the difference, though. When I slip into that plane, there is literally no more mass. I am not mass.
Exactly. So if you're small, where you're not your normal size,
Yeah.
you have to go ethereal,
Yes.
where you wouldn't be able to make contact with anything.
Exactly.
And then you get small.
Yes.
So how do you fight? Are you just saying
Wh-
you would dodge it by getting small and then pop back
he
up to your
doesn't.
normal
Yes,
size?
and
then
I
hit
can
back?
teleport to another side of a person to a person's blind spot. I can. Yes, I would not be able to move into the ethereal plane and then just fight the whole time in that plane. I can't make contact with anyone, but I can slip in and out of it to change my shape, to change my size, and then make contact. To teleport behind the person, make contact. To teleport 5 seconds in the future or 3 seconds in the past, and now there's multiple of me.
I feel like this would be a very mentally draining power.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which
but
is-
so is like 80% of the superpowers out there. All these are like crazy hard on the body.
Well,
Like
mean,
there's a
yeah.
reason they don't exist in real life.
I mean, this
I
is
think-
true. This is very true.
I would argue that Kyle's is actually not hard on the body. In fact, it's the
Yeah.
opposite of that.
Yeah.
But
Heyo.
Actually, that's not true. It is very hard on the body.
I mean, I
'cause
still-
there's
I do
there's a limit to the number of times that a cell can actually repair itself. So by actually accelerating that process, because that's what the healing factor is, it's your cells regenerating at a much higher rapid pace. You're actually going to age yourself and you will die faster.
Well, but like Wolverine's aging process is actually slowed because he was born. For context, he was born in the late 1800s.
Yeah.
Late 1800s. But he looks like he's in his physical prime. Like he looks like.
Thanks to Weapon X, which is not what you picked. The Weapon X experimentation is what extended.
Oh, Farfig Nugan.
well, what about Victor
What?
or his brother or whatever?
Sabretooth?
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
I forgot they were brothers.
Oh, was he Weapon X?
Yes, he was not like.
Wasn't
I mean,
as
he wasn't
successful?
Weapon X. He was part of the Weapon
Well,
X program.
yes.
But
Okay.
and so was Deadpool.
Yeah.
Should have picked Deadpool.
Shoulda.
Yeah.
Woulda. Woulda.
Well, the reason the reason I didn't pick Deadpool's was because it was designed specifically for him because he had cancer, and I was like,
Well, no, it wasn't designed for him because he had cancer. He volunteered for
Well,
the
yeah, well,
program
yes.
because he was going to die anyway.
it ended up being designed for him in air quotes because the mutation affected him because of the cancer cells or whatever. Or I don't know.
I mean, okay.
I don't
Not entirely, but
Well, I can't remember I know how it works. It's just I can't think of the words to explain it right now.
Yeah.
All right, well, take a second because I want to pick at Nathaniel's a little bit more.
Okay.
So we mentioned that, yes, superpowers in general are they're taxing on the body and they're taxing on the mind. Even
Yeah.
if you could live forever, that in itself you would say is still taxing on the mind.
Yeah.
Is this a power that you would be able to do or use just kind of innately? Or would you have to understand string theory in order to be able to utilize this?
I think you would be able to. So you would be able to use it innately, but you wouldn't necessarily have control over it. You would definitely have to learn. It would not be something that I would be born with and just immediately know how to do. It is something that I would have to through trial and error figure out. Okay, so this is how I slip into the first dimension. This is how I slip into the second dimension. This is how I take advantage of the fourth dimension or the 11th dimension.
Okay.
Like pretty much all superpowers.
Yeah,
You learn how to use them as you grow and
That
as
is
you
true.
mature.
That is true. The difference is that his is using 11 dimensions, whereas like teleportation is something that you could just kind of figure out, okay, well, I know if I'm thinking that place or I see that place, I could do that. It's got a much quicker learning curve. You're using 11 dimensions, and I mean, aside from combat or anything like that, you would still have to basically become a physicist.
not really.
In order to...
the string theory is really, and in particular the 11th dimension is the M theory. It's not that hard to understand.
I feel like mine has the
Wait,
least
so
amount of
the
brain
11th
power.
dimension is M theory?
Is M theory, but it involves strings.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So that would be my confusion in that. I
Yes.
apologize for
Yes.
making that assumption.
In the 11th dimension, it uses the smallest thing in the 11th dimension is a string, but it is not the string theory. The string theory only has 10 dimensions.
Okay.
Does
Well,
not have the 11th dimension.
Either way, you still like that.
I feel like that's a lot to
It's
comprehend.
it's really not that hard.
All right. Well, you just admitted earlier in the podcast that it was a lot.
That was a lot.
and then
I don't want to ramble on a podcast for 30 minutes to explain to you all the dimensions.
Okay. I'm just saying, like it.
We'll have a
it
bonus.
The
sounds,
fact that I could
it
read...
sounds like a lot, and to be able to truly understand it, you would have to study for a long time.
I don't think so.
Travis, why'd you pick teleportation?
The fact that I could read
Dang it.
this article and basically understand what each of the dimensions is in about an hour and a half, and if I didn't understand something, go look it up on a different location and have a basis understanding of how it all works. It's really not that complicated. Now, the actual science behind why they believe these things are possible, that is complicated. I'm not a physicist, but what the description of the dimensions and how they work is really not that complicated.
Okay. And how would you discover that you had this superpower? Because I could also see the healing. You cut yourself, your body heals. Oh, crap, I can heal.
Yeah.
With teleportation, you're thinking like you're looking at a picture, or you're thinking about a place and you just automatically go there and you're like, oh, crap, how did that happen?
Yeah.
And then you start playing around with it. With mimicry, you're trying to learn how to play guitar, and all of a sudden you just know how to play guitar, and you realize that there's different things that you can do. With this, how do you realize
I
that?
sit and wish that I could have watched the crucifixion of Jesus as an example, and all of a sudden I'm there in that moment watching it happen.
Okay, so it is something that happens innately. It's not.
It could, yes. I mean, by your definition of how I would learn how to do this, yeah. I could also I'll come up with a backstory real quick for my superpower. I was in a lab on a school field trip, and I knocked over chemicals, and boom, now I have the power. Like, that argument has no... Like, I genuinely don't understand the argument you're trying to make. Like, do you want me to come up with a backstory?
No,
for how I discovered this power?
I just think that it requires a lot more than any of these others, and there's not
it does. It's more fleshed out than the others, I think. I mean, there's
Mine
definitely
has been established in comic books.
There is more.
What are you on about? I'm listening.
There's not very many limitations, and everything's set by that. But I have this is what I can do and this is what I can't do. All the rules are there. There are a lot of drawbacks. I could easily just if I tried to use this in a fight, I could still get stabbed when I slip out of the,
Seventh.
Ghost Station, form, or the ghost form. It's like, oh, dude knew I was going to teleport behind him. I'm dead. Like, yeah, there's a lot of drawbacks, but there's also a lot of drawbacks with all your powers. Like, I genuinely don't understand the argument you're trying to make.
It's not necessarily that. I know. Sorry, I know all of these are unrealistic. I just think yours seems significantly more far-fetched.
Okay, here's the difference. I came up with mine. It's not something that's been depicted before, so you don't have a baseline, so I'm having to explain to you the baseline. All of yours are things that you have heard of, seen in media. I kind of took a couple things and was like, wait, this would be cool, but that's a problem. I can't, I don't want to time travel because that could make things really bad. I could go back in time and change history. I could go into the future and then, do all kinds of bad stuff. I don't want to do that. What if I could just watch it? Okay, well, now I can just watch it. Well, how am I doing that? Well, there's the time dimension. Okay, well, there's more dimensions. So what if I just am able to astral project into those dimensions? Well, I don't want to leave a physical body behind. So what if I'm just changing my physical form and being able to slip in and out of these dimensions? So now I'm turning into this ghost form, but at doing that is slipping into one of these dimensions. I just picked M theory because I like the theoreticals behind the 11th dimension.
What are the other dimensions?
Do you know what they deal with?
Yes. Let's go with a short and easy one. Let's see. 7th dimension.
Well, let's start with. Hold on. Okay, so
Well,
the 4th dimension is time.
Yeah.
Yes. What's 5?
Yeah. What is 5 and on?
I don't want to read all this.
Look, just give me the names, and if we have hopefully they're at least somewhat easy to understand. If not, then
they're easy to understand, but there's no just name for it. This is a long explanation.
Can you summarize it?
Okay, so the 5th dimension is perspective, I guess, is a good way to put it.
Where you can see stuff but not
imperceivable. For example, you see a rope from a large distance. We observe it as part of the 1 dimension, which is length. But an insect moving on that rope will see that dimension. The rope has dimensions like thickness, width, and height.
Okay, gotcha.
So
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So like a string seems really small and is almost have negligible dimensions.
Yeah. And technically there is a zeroth dimension, which is just point. It's a singular point.
Yeah,
it's just a spot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you're on that spot, for example, if you just draw put a pencil
then
to
you give
paper,
it you give it dimension. Yeah. It's more
the 5th
theoretical.
dimension, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay. So that's 5.
Okay, I'll go through them all real quick.
Okay. No, because if this is something that if you want to say you can go into all 11 dimensions, I need you to understand what those 11 dimensions are.
I do understand. I
And
just
explain
didn't want to
them.
take... fine.
Look, you picked this. You said you made this power. You wanted to talk about it. Let's talk about it.
All right. 6th dimension gives more powers to a person living in this dimension. He can not only move in any direction in any time at his will, but can also take many forms at the same time, just like the quantum world. We know that the quantum world is a world of probabilities where particles can be present at different places at the same time and can take different forms. So the 6th dimension gives more flexibility in comparison to the 5th dimension. In the 6th dimension, we enter the world of parallel universes, i.e. the concept of the multiverse. That's the 6th dimension.
Okay.
Okay, 7th dimension. Dimension includes...
Are you just going to read this off? Because
Yes!
if you want to do that, we can post that in the show notes.
You asked me to!
I want you to paraphrase and actually argue your point, not just recite rhetoric.
No. I don't have them all memorized, Josh.
It's
Okay. Okay.
But they are... the point I'm trying to make is they are all super easy to understand. They're
Can we?
If this was my actual powers in real life, I would memorize them all.
Can we leave a link in the description?
Yes.
Or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Send me the link and we'll post it on the show notes.
I would like. Hey,
No,
Travis.
Josh. Hey,
yeah,
Travis, tell us about
Travis,
Yeah, we can
teleportation.
move on to somebody else.
Please.
Hey, I'm just poking holes in it.
Please.
You've poked 0 holes into. You've just taken up time.
I think that it could have been
Okay.
argued better then.
All I want to do is to be able to like instantly be somewhere else. Period. Without getting in a car or getting on a plane.
Would you be able to hold something and take it with you?
Maybe. I don't know that, but I could
Okay.
always backline equipment and have it there waiting on me. It's all
True.
about playing
Okay, that's fair.
more
True.
gigs
That's
without
fair.
travel.
True.
That's fair.
That is like the musician's dream.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be on a plane for 12 hours. I don't want to be in a bus for 4 days.
For context, I actually picked this power the last time we recorded this topic because it didn't actually record, and I didn't argue it very well.
There's definitely some drawbacks, like if your buddy that lives on the West Coast knows that you can do this, and he calls you up and says, "Hey, can you help me move?" What's going to be your excuse?
Yeah, you're gonna be
So you
asked
have
for
to-
a lot of favors.
Yeah, and you have to think
You might
about
want to keep that power secret.
Yeah.
I feel like it might also make you inherently not lazy, but just like I don't know. I feel like if someone abused that power, they'd just become.
Well, you got to be
Well-
careful with it, too. 'Cause
With
this
great power comes great responsibility, as they say.
facts. I mean,
Rip
it
Uncle
can
Ben.
potentially be a dangerous power, too. This is a point that I made against Kyle last time. When you're teleporting, if you say you see someone on a boat and they're kind of driving at a small speed or whatever, it's not very fast. I mean, you attempt to teleport on to the boat. Well, your momentum's not moving with you. You're just all of a sudden you're on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
The boat's moving, so you're going to fall over.
Yeah.
So it can be a
You could hurt.
slightly
Yeah, you could hurt yourself.
But that's also a thing like, you realize you have this power when you're a kid.
yeah.
And as you grow, you learn how to deal with those things.
Your balance shifts.
Yeah.
Well, so and that's
Well,
the
yeah.
other thing is momentum conserved. So if you're like that, or if you start running along with the boat at
Yep,
a similar
that's what I
pace,
was gonna say,
then
yeah.
could you snap on and have your momentum going?
Yeah.
So I mean, similarly, if you're running away from somebody and then snap to a different place, do you if you land on a cliff?
You start
Do you accidentally throw off?
You
Yeah.
just run off the cliff.
or like if you're falling and you try to go, back up to the top of the cliff.
Yeah.
Do you still have that momentum that you just then, you've fallen 30 feet and now you're just instantly on the ground?
Theoretically, you could just keep teleporting back
Teleport
up to the top and
top.
continually
Yeah.
fall forever until someone is able to catch you.
Oh my gosh.
or you can teleport to any solid surface. Like you can teleport to your living room.
Yeah, but would your momentum be?
so that's what I was saying was, does your momentum carry over though? Because if you fall in 30 feet, you're moving
'Cause then you're
downwards.
splat-
You're
Right.
accelerating.
That-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then when you land on solid ground, all of that force immediately comes under you. It's like you just fell 30 feet instead of.
You just got to
I mean, you,
teleport onto your
you
bed.
saved yourself
but-
300, but you still
Yeah.
fell 30.
Just
so
teleport to your bed.
Maybe. Yeah.
Teleport to your bed. Yeah,
Yeah.
you might break
Soft-
the frame, but
yeah.
There you go.
The bed will catch you.
hopefully your dog's
But
not on the bed.
yeah. And how does maybe gravity doesn't work the same
Maybe.
to somebody who can teleport. I don't know.
No, well, that's,
I don't know.
And that's
I'm just
what I'm
saying.
asking is an answer. I want
Yeah.
you to define that. Define your ability.
So if I think it's a situation like it's you learn how to deal with it as you grow, just like anything. As you grow, you learn how to deal with your hands and make your hands do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you learn how to deal with that. However the effects are,
Yeah.
you can deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are. I can make them up.
Yeah. Well, and I think a good answer for that would be that momentum is conserved, but knowing that if you typically are if you're going to a stationary place, like trying to just jump into your living room, then okay, the living room is not moving. So I'm just going to stand still
Gotta
and then go.
adjust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, or know which spot in your living room that if you are, walking, you can just casually
Yeah.
keep that same pace and
Yeah.
not just run into your TV.
And
Yeah.
practice falling.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
legitimately practice falling.
Yeah.
Like if I mean that's you watch these guys do insane parkour stuff. They know how to fall. They know how if they lose their balance, what to do in order to lessen the damage.
Yeah.
Practice falling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just, like your
You-
balance definitely
and as you
changes.
grow, I imagine there will be a lot of broken bones as a kid,
Yeah.
even more as you're learning to deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is where my power would come in handy.
Exactly.
All right, Kyle, what are the limitations of your power?
Well, I'm trying to describe. I should have taken note on that.
Are you just going with Wolverine?
I mean, pretty
Pretty
much,
much.
yeah. I mean, the reason, like I said, the reason I picked Wolverine was because I don't know, for whatever reason, it initially appealed more to me, and I didn't realize how much, I guess, better or different Deadpool's was.
Deadpool's is just faster and a little because
Is it?
if you chop his head off, he can regrow. If you chop a limb off, he can regrow.
That's true. Now,
Then
obviously, I don't anticipate being decapitated.
Yeah. Then again, I'm not super. I haven't read like all the older Wolverine comics,
I haven't either.
but after he gets adamantium put in him for Weapon X, you're not going to see him be decapitated.
Well, yes.
Because he's made out of adamantium.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
maybe his healing factor could have done that. And it's also explained that his healing factor is slowed down by the fact that it's constantly having to heal him from the fact that
From
he
the
has adamantium in
right,
his body.
exactly.
So
See,
maybe
I
it
don't.
is just as good, and it's just...
I think that's why I went with it, is because I don't have a poisonous metal in my skeleton. So I could just, in theory, heal like normal and not have to constantly fight this poisonous thing inside my body. Which, granted, the adamantium is pretty much like darn near indestructible.
You'd be a really good, like, I forget what they're called. You know those poison testers for, like, kings and stuff?
Poison testers?
I think they had a name for it, but I
don't
could be wrong.
remember.
But yeah, I mean, you'd be great at that.
That's actually one
servants.
reason. Yeah, that's actually one reason why I did
cook.
The chef. That's actually one reason why I picked Wolverine's healing ability. It makes him like incredibly resistant to like diseases, drugs, like toxins, stuff like that. So like if I accidentally drank something poisonous, I could probably be fine.
You could eat Tide Pods.
Oh my god! No, I'm joking. It's a joke. I'm joking. Obviously,
Yeah,
We're
we
all
do that
joking.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need a healing factor.
Do not try that at home, kids. Please don't.
Well, that's how Nathaniel got over COVID-19.
Do not eat Tide Pods. I'm
Yeah.
just going to say that right now. Don't.
Yeah, please don't.
All jokes.
Yes, please stay safe. Eat your greens.
Yeah, Tide Pods are blue. Don't eat those.
Yeah. Another I guess additive to this is that he can sort of use it more psychologically to suppress moments from his memories where he was in great distress and everything like that. So like if I had some nasty memory, I could just be like, nope, it's gone.
Something that's interesting. So, this is all theoretical.
Right.
This isn't real.
Nothing's real.
And if you remember this, in Ikigai, our book that we read for this month's book club, they talked about how a person's escape velocity or their lifespan's escape velocity.
Yes.
So basically, when medicine catches up to our body's physical aging, if you're able to increase medicine and everything to the point where for every 1 year you age, your medicine and everything expands your lifespan by 1 year, you'll never die. But also in the book, it talks about how your cells aren't meant to actually rebuild themselves that much, and that most scientists believe that a human body can't actually live past roughly 120 to 130 years of age.
I mean, that'd be okay with me.
Yeah.
I don't. It's not that I don't want to live forever.
Because you're healing all the time, and all these things that happen to your body is being forced to heal rapidly at a faster rate. Would you be shortening your lifespan by that? Now, that's not what happens, obviously, to Wolverine. He lives for hundreds of years.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Before Weapon X.
Yeah. Yes. So the comics
Oh,
are not exactly scientifically backed, but they're comics. So I'm just asking you: Are we going against science and going with the comic books, or are you going to adhere to real life science? It is your choice. You pick the power.
Can I put in a rebuttal to that before you answer?
Sure.
Okay. So, considering the fact that he's probably still just living as a normal human, and he's not getting in as much conflict as Wolverine did.
Yeah.
True.
It might not be relevant because his
not.
healing, he might lose. Let's say he loses like 6 months because he heals a cut faster. Or I mean, not even like
It
that'd be
wouldn't be
still
6
have to be
months,
that'd have to be a deep gash.
I mean,
but
how
that's
long does it
essentially
normally take a cut to heal? Like 3
it
days.
depends on the
So,
depth of the cut.
Yeah, there's
so
a lot of factors.
So but it would be like his cells are regenerating faster, so his life would be shorter, but not necessarily, and not relative. Because like if you said your goal is not to live forever, if you can still live 80 years and just not get sick or not have to deal with, normal wounds, then I think that's it's kind of the trade-off.
No,
You obviously couldn't live because I mean the other thing is Wolverine also he had 2 mutations, didn't he? So every time he used his claws, he was injuring himself and then would have to heal after. Mm-hmm. So even just by using that innate second healing property or the claws, he would be basically cutting his hand
himself.
Yeah, cutting his hand in multiple spots just to get in a fight.
Yeah.
There's actually a quote in one of the movies.
He fought a lot.
Yeah.
Just because he had not the most friendly personality.
Yeah, well, he got shot a lot and stabbed a lot.
Yeah.
And Kyle, have you ever been shot?
A lot of bones.
With airsoft guns, yes.
All right.
But not with a real
Yeah, those
gun.
will heal in a second.
Yeah, no,
Have you ever been stabbed?
No.
It is
Okay.
not a huge deterrence because you're right. He's not going to go, Kyle,
I'm not gonna
I'm
jump out
assuming
and
if
fight.
you had this. Well, you never know. If you're born with this power, you might have joined the military just because you know. But at the same time, obviously, it might not have a big impact, but it's still just a clarification I was wanting.
You know what? For fun stuffs, we'll just say let's adhere to science.
Okay.
Let's just adhere to science because
Okay. So
I want to be more realistic and be like, really,
more
it's just like
grounded.
if I hurt myself, it's like it'll just like it won't take forever. Like if I break something, it'll just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to live to 100 years or as long as Wolverine. I just
I mean,
wanna
as,
heal.
as someone who had a surgery not that long ago, actually, it was pretty long ago now. It's over a year. But
what was it?
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, medical history.
Yeah, medical history. I don't want to share on the internet.
Fair enough.
I would have much rather just not gone through that.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
pain recovery,
Yeah.
not fun. So healing would have been
Yeah.
nice.
Dude, imagine like when I had my wisdom teeth taken out, that's probably some of the worst pain I've ever been through just because like it's constant and just nagging. I'd be done with that in like a day or something like that. Whereas like I had to take ibuprofen for like a week to help.
I wonder how that works with like muscle
Sorry.
growth.
Ibuprofen for a week.
I took a lot of ibuprofen. I probably took enough ibuprofen to kill somebody.
Yeah, I just thought ibuprofen was an interesting choice there if you're describing immense continuous pain.
Well,
But
there's a lot of
Just this is
didn't like
kind
the
of
hydro.
unrelated. I'm just very interested in how, if this healing factor were ever created, like how it would work with the other aspects of life. Like how would that work with eating food and how your body digests food? Because to digest food, your cells break down food, and so would you digest food a lot faster and therefore need to eat a lot more? Like if you were to like, how do you build muscles?
is your
Because the act
metabolism
of
just yeah.
the act of building muscles, you're essentially breaking down your
Destroying
muscles
cells,
so that
yeah.
they can actually rebuild. Because Wolverine's jacked.
Oh yeah, he's pretty freaking
So-
big.
I wonder. Yeah, just
Aside,
just unrelated.
one of my earlier superpower picks before I narrowed them down was the ability to digest dairy.
Yeah.
I think that's just
Is
genetics.
that a superpower?
It would be for me.
Okay.
Ouch. I'm
Well,
sorry,
in general,
buddy.
actually, dairy is not really great for humans. We're not really meant to eat it.
Yeah, which makes sense as mammals. Why are we drinking their milk? But
Yeah.
cheese is still delicious, and I'm
yes,
thankful that I'm able
absolutely.
to process it.
Yep.
I
But
like
it
cheese.
as just a general concept, it is kind of strange.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, it's like, who did this first?
Yeah.
Well,
chicken or
Josh,
the
you're
egg?
not lactose intolerant, so
Are you?
That wouldn't be a superpower for you. No, I'm not.
Okay.
Or that just means I'm
I've
already
seen you eat cheese. I should know that.
I'm already a mutant.
Yeah.
I'm the next evolution of human.
Yeah. Exactly.
Even though people have been drinking milk for
Ever.
a long time. So one point that you brought up in regards to the healing factor was, and Kyle, right now, I know you're not necessarily a military man.
No.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Yeah. We'll post a picture sometime.
Yeah.
But
We'll do face reveal soon.
Scrawny boy.
yeah.
Twig.
Do you think that if you had this healing factor that you would, because like right now we've already established you live a relatively safe life.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that you would be more risky if you had this ability since birth?
I mean, probably.
I think by
think
nature,
so,
if
yeah.
you knew that if you got hurt, you would heal almost immediately, you would at least be more of a daredevil.
I would try stuff, definitely, especially like, like more extreme sports stuff,
Like base
like
jumping?
BMX or dirt bike ride. I just do more stuff like. I mean, I could do stuff like that anyway, but like.
Yeah, I think lots of people do.
I mean, well,
But yeah, like you who are not necessarily. I mean,
But
not
if you're
saying
not a risk
outgoing,
taker-
but yeah,
no.
As your
Yeah,
personality,
yeah.
it would probably change.
I mean,
if you-
it
for sure.
would, but this would again, like Travis pointed out, it would be something to manage and be like, okay, hang on, we can do this, but should we? And
I don't think you would, though. I think you are by nature a reserved and calculated person, right? You are a very calculated. What are the goods and bads if I do this?
yeah.
Genuinely, I don't think if you knew that if you couldn't really be hurt, I don't think you would be nearly as calculating
Yeah.
in things that you do. Not a criticism, but you're already a pretty decently crazy driver. So
Am I? I mean, yeah,
you speed a lot.
I do.
I would be kind of terrified to see how you would drive if you knew that if you got in a car accident, you would be totally fine. Didn't matter what happened.
I mean,
like-
that's fair.
Or just, I don't feel like you're the type of person to go jump off of a bridge into a river, but I think you probably would be if you knew that no matter what, you couldn't get hurt and it would just be fun.
I would try it at least once. I would try a lot of stuff at least once and be like, all right, we're good with that, and then just be done with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think because there is still the concept of
I would
yes,
still
you would
feel
be
the
okay.
pain.
Yeah, so you
I
would
still feel the pain. That's
it would
the
still be
thing.
the fear of pain.
That's the thing.
Would be the thing.
It's like Wolverine can still feel pain, and actually, according to in the comic books, it's like he'll have like phantom pains from injuries like weeks or months after he's already healed from them. So yes, I could do something that would break my leg and I would heal back, but I would still feel it at some point. Be like, ow.
I do think that your sense of pain tolerance is something that would change.
Yeah.
Because if you're, because I do think that just as a person, if you have that ability, I do think you'd be a little more reckless. I'm not saying you would be, throw caution to the wind, jump off of everything just because,
would be.
Well,
I for sure would be.
yeah, well,
I would.
yeah, that's
I would
you.
try.
Like
I would try some
you don't
stuff,
have
but
this
then I'd be
ability.
like-
Yeah,
and
no.
part of you is still
Yeah.
kind of that way.
Yeah, I know.
But I do think that inherently you would kind of switch and be a little more reckless with that. And as you continued to get injured or,
Yeah.
as things occurred, your association with pain
Would change.
Would change.
Well,
It'd
in
be different.
general, your association with pain is already going to be better than everyone else because you get hurt, you heal really quickly. Part of the annoying thing about pain is if you hurt yourself, it hurts for quite a while.
Yeah, like
Especially-
a week, and you have to take ibuprofen.
Yeah, especially
lot of it.
depending on the type of pain. Like you cut a finger off, it's going to hurt for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But if that, you just heal in a matter of minutes and then be over it.
Yeah.
And yeah, the phantom pain thing would be kind of annoying.
Yeah, I'd hate it.
But you would rather have, personally, I would rather have that than
the
still be
actual
dealing
pain
with
for,
the
like,
actual
yeah.
pain for like 2 weeks of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So, Josh, tell me about this mimicry.
So we can kind of put some limitations on it, but I think it is, the ability to see somebody use a technique, whether that be fighting or like playing an instrument, and being able to instantly kind of learn that skill or basically take their muscle memory and just be able to apply that immediately. And then you could store up different things. So you'd basically just be a skill junkie. But there's also the ability to mimic sounds or the way somebody looks, so you could kind of change your shape, change your figure to match that. But it would have to be somebody that you had previously seen, or I guess nowadays in age, you could... I still don't think, unless you can see like their full body in perspective with something else, then I don't think it should work as like an image. Like you couldn't just take somebody's headshot and turn into that person.
You'd have to see the whole person.
Yeah, because you would be mimicking their whole... You could probably change your face to match theirs, but it would still be on your body.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would think, so if you're going to mimic them, I would think you would have to see how like light actually refracts off of their body. Like, because otherwise you're not actually getting a clear picture of someone. Like, there's a difference in seeing a picture of someone or even seeing a video of someone and seeing them in real life. Because of the way, like, even the light refracts on a camera, someone on camera can look very different than they do in real life, because maybe the lens makes their face look a little thinner, maybe it makes it look a little wider. So, you know, you could probably still transform into someone through a video or something, but it might not be completely accurate.
Yeah.
Like there would be small differences based off of how you're actually seeing them. I don't think you should be able to from a picture, like maybe a temporary, or maybe transform into a still shot, but you wouldn't be able from a picture to see how they move and what their face does when it moves.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm also, like, honestly, that's a part of the ability that I'm willing to sacrifice, because I think that would be cool, but it really... What it more was the muscle memory of like being able to see a video of somebody doing parkour, and seeing the way that their muscles move, and you know the way that they position their feet, and the way they grab hold of the bar or the wall or whatever, and being able to mimic that.
I think that aspect you should be able to do for sure.
No,
I think like actually physically mimicking their body, like if you're like changing the shape of your body to theirs, you would have to see them in person, or it would just be slightly different, slightly off if you tried to do it through video.
Okay.
What I wonder is if you see someone in person and you like mimic them, and you like obviously like you take their body figure and like let's say their clothes, is that the only set of clothes that you have on when you mimic that person? Like it's just that same set of clothes.
My body mimics their body. My clothes and items do not.
Okay.
So that would either mean where, for anybody that's seen Seven Deadly Sins or whatever, Escanor wears specific clothes that will change size when you're like, he wears clothes that are too big for him.
The Hulk
but
has been set in Endgame.
Does he?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, sure.
Professor Hulk does.
Yeah. Okay. But
okay.
yeah. So like you would either have a change of clothes or wear specific clothes that if you were going to be changing shapes multiple times
would be able
or
to
find somebody that had a similar body type to what you were currently wearing.
Okay, that makes sense.
I guess Ant-Man would have had to have also, Hank Pym would have also had done that.
Well, his are different.
I mean, it's a suit,
the clothes
but there's
change
still a
with,
material that actually changes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But here's a question. How many skills are you able to mimic at a time? Or like, actually first, if you mimic someone's skill, how long can you mimic that for? Like if you see someone doing karate and now you can mimic karate, like if that person leaves, can you still do karate? And if you can, for how long? Like, I don't think you should be able to mimic something and be able to have that skill forever, for the rest of your life. I think that's kind of...
Yeah, that'd be a lot of brain power to use if you had to like go through all these things or whatever. I mean, not that you couldn't do it, because...
I don't think a human brain could handle literally being a master at everything, because you're able to mimic everything you see.
Yeah.
Well, so a lot of it is, it's the phrase muscle memory, but it's not... I think that it is something that I should be able to do I mean, obviously when my body gets to the point where it can no longer support what I'm doing, like, you know, seeing an old man doing parkour is not likely to happen. But I think as long as my muscles and my body can actually still perform that ability, then I think my brain should be able to support that as well.
Okay. If that's the case, which I'm still not willing to surrender that because I don't agree with that, but if that were the case, then I think you would only be allowed to mimic exactly what you saw and not be able to do any variations of it. Therefore, if you're mimicking someone's ability to play guitar, you are mimicking exactly what you saw them play, but you can't play anything else on guitar.
Like just that one riff or something or whatever.
If you see someone play Stairway to Heaven, you can mimic Stairway to Heaven, but you cannot play anything else on guitar.
I think that's accurate. That's mimicking.
If you see someone do a reverse kick, you can do a reverse kick.
But you can't do a
You
side
can't.
kick.
You can't do anything else.
Okay. So then with the actual, just the way that the human body learns and develops, if I was to watch, somebody play specifically Stairway to Heaven, then I would learn specific chords and techniques that are used in playing that. And then would I be able to, like, why would it be limited to? I understand why you're saying that.
You
but being able to,
You described it as muscle memory. You're mimicking the muscle memory of that person. You didn't say now you have the ability.
I'm not saying immediately I can just play everything on guitar, but after getting that initial knowledge, and then with some practice on top of that, being able to do more of that. So it's
obviously,
sure.
If you do,
like using muscle memory to learn the basics, and then
if you do you can use it as an accelerated form of learning. But I don't think you should be able to see one thing and mimic it permanently and be like a master. You see one karate movie, you're not a master of karate.
Now,
Now,
those
are
couple
you
moves.
going to have a much faster road to becoming a master of karate because you're able to mimic certain things better and you're able to practice and learn how to do that? Yes, I would agree with that. But I think you could use it at that point as an accelerated learning tool for sure. But I think that would have to be a limit. I also kind of think there would have to be a limit to some extent to how many things you can mimic in your life. I don't think you should be able to mimic everything, and just as long as your body can handle it, do it, because there is a limit to what the brain can do. Like, human memory is not as powerful as
Dude, I can't
People
even
think
remember what I
this is a
dreamed last
superpower
night.
too, so it's not.
That's true. So
yeah,
you would have to
and it is a superpower that resides within my brain.
That's fair. But being able to mimic everything.
Because it essentially is, because that's the way that people learn things, is that they witness it, then they do it themselves, and then they practice repetition of that until they themselves are able to replicate that.
Mimicking in itself is absolutely real. I agree. But what you're saying is you're able to mimic it perfectly to right off the bat.
So, which is essentially just information processing at a higher, like being able to observe something, process that, and turn it into my personal skill at a highly accelerated rate.
There's a difference between information processing and information storage. There's a limit to how much your brain can hold compared to how fast your brain, because what you are doing is you are accelerating your processing.
If less of my brain is focused on processing it,
That's not how the brain works. There are different parts of your brain for those things.
and maybe they're proportionally different than. It's a mutated brain.
Proportion. The biology of that that's not how that works. Like, there are parts of your brain
In a
that
regular
focus
human,
on
yes.
processing. So you're just no longer human then.
Well, technically, none of us are, because we're the next step.
Okay.
By the fact that we have superpowers, you're able to go into 11 dimensions, and you want to argue about the still being human?
By doing one thing, I'm turning into a ghost and able to slip in and out of dimensions.
And my thing, if you want to break it down to the base of it, is information collection, processing, and storage, which allows me to, like, the effect of that is mimicry.
Okay, so if you're adding and storage.
Well, because it is being able to take that information and store it, and then recall that at a later time. So as we're getting further into the details and the actual physics and biology of this, yes, I would say that it includes storage.
Okay. Next question. Say you're trying to mimic an ability that is outside of your means. For example, playing guitar, but your actual physical muscle can't handle a certain thing you're trying to mimic. Because that is a thing. Your finger might not literally be able to reach it. You don't have calluses, so trying to mimic it for too long, your fingers are going to bleed.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that's a good limitation. It's like trying to, I don't know, we were in band together, so we would, exercise our forearms by like drumming on the ground for a long time.
Yeah.
So even if I could mimic those movements it's just
I
a
feel like
constant motion that which you have to do in order to be able to play for 10 minutes at a time.
Yeah, that's true.
At, high pace. So yeah, I would say that at a certain point, but again, that is something that if I'm like, that is something that I'm trying to learn, or this is the ability that I have. I think that knowing the limitations of my body and then having grown up with this ability would have probably trained myself if I'm going to be, in the same way that like you learn your balance shifts a little bit, when and where to teleport and kind of things like that. Maybe you've grown a little bit more reckless or your pain tolerance is higher because you have this healing factor. That is also something that you would learn the limits of your body, or you would train your body to a higher endurance to be able to put up with those things. Now, I do think, yes, guitar, if I'm trying to, like if I'm battle of the bandsing it or trying to riff back and forth with somebody and see, who can play longer or whatever, that person that has been playing, if this is the first time I picked up a guitar, that person is probably going to be better at it. But also, so I think I would still be able to play through like one song or, something like that, but maybe my hands, because I don't have those calluses built up. But at the same time, if that was something that I was really concerned about and, had my hands in my pocket, then I could mimic that dude's hands.
Yeah.
And now I have the calluses and I have the reach and I have, as somebody who has small hands, part of the difficulty of playing guitar is the fact that I can't always reach all the frets and, so that is a limitation that I personally have had in my life.
I know how
during
you feel.
the 1 month that I decided to learn guitar. So yeah, but I do think that is a good limitation. So it's like if I am, I can watch somebody doing parkour, and while my brain can understand that and my body can move that way, kind of, maybe my muscles aren't dense enough to land that fall the same way that guy did.
Yeah, or to support trying to,
or I'm not physically strong enough to pull myself up over that. But that also means that if that was something that I was really going for, I would either one, mimic that person's body, or I would have trained myself to be able to do this. The Black Widow fights like an insane person. Yeah. But if I wanted to do that, I could mimic those movements and things like that, but I would still need to train my body and get in better shape to actually be able to, jump up and wrap my legs around a 7-foot tall man like that.
Throw him to the ground like he's a piece of paper.
Exactly. Yeah. But if my body was in, strong enough physical shape, then that was something that I would be able to mimic.
Like if you look like Travis here, I bet you Travis could throw some 7-foot dude to the ground like he's a piece of paper.
Yep, as long as he was willing.
Yep.
So if you're transforming your body and now you have a new body, or you're mimicking someone else's body, is there going to be a moment of maybe like a day's moment where you're like, oh shoot, okay, different body, different proportions, different balance, different,
Yeah, which is part of, honestly, having that ability kind of throws, that's basically two abilities in one, because it's like taking Mystique and then pairing them with something else. So that's why, like, that was something that, like, as kind of a tack on at the end of, like, yeah, that'd be cool too. I do think, like, sound mimicry and being able to, like, mimic somebody's voice, which crows have, I think makes sense. However, realistically, I think being able to shapeshift into a different person is a bit of a stretch. Yeah. But
realistically, like mimicking people's voices is a real thing.
Yeah.
So it just takes a lot of training. So you're essentially, you don't have to do the training. You can just instantly do it.
Yep.
By
if I hear the sound, I can mimic it. Yeah. Similar to the ability that crows have.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is really creepy. I think parrots also have it. It's literally called like parroting.
Yeah,
but
birds can like hear a voice or whatever and just like do it.
Yeah,
it's like what? It's like, shut up, you devil creature! I'm the one talking here.
Yeah. So, which would be really fun with telemarketers.
So
Imagine prank calling like
Yes.
scammers or something like that, and just like messing with them, just like changing voices every couple sentences or something. That's what I would do. I'd prank call people and just change voices.
last question: as you
Really low bar.
as
abuse.
you like mimic other,
doesn't take
like
much.
as you age and you get older, what is to stop you from just mimicking a younger person's body?
Well, so that's part of what I was saying, like the actually being able to shapeshift
Yeah.
is kind of a bit of a stretch, and I almost think the power would be more fun and more balanced if that wasn't something that I was actually able to do.
Okay. I like taking that off the table.
Yeah, which is why
Personally,
I was
yeah.
like, hey, if we can fit this in, then let's do it. But realistically, there's also a lot here that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I think being able to actually change forms in bodies, similar to what I had in my mind of what that would actually look like, was similar to Mystique.
Yeah.
Or like a changeling in Dungeons and Dragons for people that know that. So, yeah.
Okay. So
In that we're taking that off the table.
Okay,
So it
so
is
quick-
sound mimicry, and then it is skills or techniques mimicking.
all right. So quick summary from my brain. You can mimic as many things as you want, and it lasts for as long as you are alive. You don't unlearn the mimic. Your body has to be able to adapt to it or physically be able to do that thing. It does accelerate the training process and the learning process, but to whatever skill you're trying to mimic.
yeah, and basically at dumbly accelerated
Yeah.
abilities. Yeah.
Yeah. But you still have to catch your physical body up to it. There's no limit on how many things you can mimic, and you can mimic your voice. I'm good with that.
Yeah, and
That's
I
fair.
think I think
Okay.
that, and I mean there's still a ton of applications to that, because
Yeah,
it
oh,
could
yeah.
be, even if it's just mimicking motions or whatever. If I see somebody type it, I mean realistically it could be any kind of keypad, but like your ATM number, then I
Yeah.
could, similar to the power of the Sharingan,
You
could
could
then
steal so
just
much
mimic
money.
that. Or
Yeah.
if I see you sign your signature, then I would be able to forge that simply by the way that I saw your muscles move.
Yeah.
Which Sasuke uses to cheat in the Chunin exams.
You could use this for a lot of bad. Like I said, you could use, like, if you mimic someone's pin, you could use that to steal money from them.
Yeah, which I mean, you could also do with teleportation, or you could just put a mask on, run into the bank, grab everything, and don't give a shit if you get shot.
That's
So-
true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or could
or
just
slip
teleport
into the
into-
ethereal plane,
Just
grab
go
all
into
the
the-
money. That's the other question.
Oh.
Okay, going back to the ethereal plane, which
Yeah.
is kind of words that I'm putting on it, but that's
Yeah, it's
for,
not
for
exact-
my understanding. It's not great. But when you turn into a ghost and slip through dimensions, can you take things with you?
No.
No. Okay, so in the example that we had where you were fighting, you would shrink to dodge something, and then step behind them, and then pop back up. You'd
Yep.
be naked.
Okay, I'm going to say that I can.
Let
Any-
the man keep his clothes.
Yeah,
Come on
just,
now.
just clothes. I'm taking clothes with me, but I cannot take like. I would say, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with how Danny Phantom does it.
I have a special suit. No.
I mean that's literally Danny Phantom. Like his ghost form is clothed.
Well, yeah, that's also because it's a kid's cartoon show.
So I'm going with that. My ghost form is clothed. It's kind of like.
But so that's what I'm saying is,
Yes.
do the clothes shift
Oh no,
in and out?
No,
of-
they fall off. But my ghost form is clothed.
Okay, so when you come back, so you go ghost form, move 5 feet, and then become unghost form. Your ghost clothes are not still on you, and you are now naked.
My clothes are coming with me. They are. You can get over it. You
let
can
the-
like
let
it.
so-
You cannot like it.
So with that logic,
but I cannot
so with
take
that,
items with me. But
I'm saying it's got to be one or the other.
no.
I'm just asking for an answer here, which I think makes sense that you should be. If you can manipulate the dimensions,
Okay, cool. I'm taking things with
because
me.
it will. Because
right,
like
that's fair.
But it would have to be things that are worn or carried.
Yeah.
In that sense, like you're not, because
Yeah, I'm not going to touch this table, and this table also, the entire thing is coming with me. Like, I think I
if
should
you had a backpack, would the backpack come with you?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so. Yes. So you could go ethereal, slip into a bank vault, fill it with cash, and then
Slip out.
yeah.
Slip
Slip
out
knot.
on the other side of the planet.
My God.
because
where they
You
don't
could literally
where
just
they don't
reti-
take the same currency.
yeah.
You could
I
literally
could-
just retire in
Actually,
one fell
realistically,
swoop.
the U.S. dollar is accepted pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
I could see that's the thing. I could slip into my ethereal form. Well, yep. Nope. Okay.
And you'd still be on camera. Everybody would just be super weirded out.
No, I said you can't see me.
No. When you're ethereal, but in
Oh,
order
yeah.
in order to shift out of that,
Yeah.
grab the money.
It would appear as teleportation. It really,
Yeah.
it is teleportation. I'm entering dimensions and exiting at
Yeah,
other
just with
places.
more travel.
Well,
Which
I think
is-
the last time we
yeah.
did it, it was planar shifting is what the
Yes.
phrase you described it
Yes,
for.
I think that is probably more accurate because I'm not actually physically decomposing and recomposing in another location instantaneously. I'm entering a different dimension or a different plane.
Where people can't see you.
Yeah, and then able to come out of it at a different location.
I literally just explained Nathaniel's power.
I mean, that's what Nightcrawler actually technically does.
Right.
But
Yeah.
Wow. Audience, if you're still with us, thank you. I'm also very sorry. Do we want to go to awarding points now?
yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
ahead
I
and
think
do
Okay.
that.
I think we've kind of dug deep enough into
All
a
right,
lot of these.
So real quick, Travis, you don't have to reward points.
Okay.
Basically, you're gonna reward if you want to a point to someone. We'll go first, so you kind of see how we do it in our reasoning. But it can either be because they changed your mind and you like their power. It can their power better than yours. It can be no, I still like my power, but you made a really good point, and I considered your power for a minute, and you can give them a point. Or you can say, I'm better than you guys. I like my power better.
Everybody's arguments are garbage. Nobody gets points.
Yeah.
So we'll go Josh first.
Thank you. I was not ready to pick.
You're voting for me?
No, you. You go first.
You get
reward
you-
points first. I'll go second.
Okay. I'm going to give mine to Kyle. Not necessarily because of
Yay!
any points he made, just because I think the healing factor is really beneficial.
Dude, it'd be so cool.
So you would rather
Teleportation.
no. Hold on. So you would take healing factor over mimicry.
No.
Okay.
I would, yeah,
and
I'm
he
saying,
didn't.
sorry.
And he
I would
didn't
rather
make,
have mimicry
yes, and he didn't make any points that made you. So why are you giving him a point?
because I think he picked the better topic.
But is it better than yours?
Oh, shit. I see your argument here.
It's not. You
Yeah.
like yours better.
Okay. I do like mine. And then I think for
Like, he can still be your second, but that doesn't mean he gets a point. Unless he made you consider his based off of his argument.
okay.
He's not gonna give a point, is he?
I don't think he should if he doesn't. It's okay to not give a point, Josh.
No, it just feels dirty. All right, fine. I'm not giving a point.
All right.
Healing factor would be my second choice.
Dang it.
Nathaniel's just sounds.
I literally
It
just
sounds
explained
cool,
it.
but it sounds way too complicated.
I like complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I created it, okay? It's going to be complicated.
But I explained.
We
Well, and
fleshed
it's
it
not.
out.
It's not like the other ones aren't complicated. It's just there's more shorthand for us to understand them.
yeah.
Like the fact that I literally brought up like 2 different movies as soon as you said teleportation.
yeah.
Dang it.
But yeah.
There goes my point, bro.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, yeah. So
That's fair.
Kyle, you want to go? You look like you want to go.
I guess.
that's the first time I've ever not given out a point. It feels
Yeah.
dirty.
Man, I'm really considering here.
All right. Well, you
All right,
think
yeah,
Nathaniel
well,
go?
Yeah, I'm stuck. I need a moment.
Shoot.
None of us are ready to choose.
You know, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna reward a point. Purely from the fact that I think if I were to pick another one outside of mine, it would be mimicry, but I don't know that's because of a point you made or more so just clarifications I asked for. So, and I don't know. I still just feel like, okay. Yeah, I'm not going to give a point.
You know what? Screw it. I'm not giving one either.
Why?
Travis?
Well, I wasn't going to either before all of y'all said this because I liked mine better still.
All right.
I mean, that's fair.
I've never said
But,
this on the podcast, but why the fuck are we here?
But to rank them, I liked mine better. I liked Kyle's second.
Yes.
And I liked Mimicry third, and then I liked Nate's because I was a little confused. At the end, I will say I was leaning toward Nate when we discussed, you can take clothes with you,
Yeah.
You can take
things,
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I just think if you're
essentially
gonna-
mine's just souped up time travel and teleportation.
Yeah.
which is why
I
I
do
liked it.
think, to put a limitation on it, I don't think I should be able to exit the fourth dimension in a different time.
So you have to come back to the
Yes.
One that's-
Like I could go peer into another time
Oh, that's
period,
fair.
but I cannot actually exit
That's fine.
that
Could you
dimension.
exit in a different space?
Yes, I could do that.
Right.
But I just
And
can't.
it's just teleportation. It's teleportation with extra steps.
Yes.
With extra stuff.
With more capabilities.
Yeah.
Well, because
I essentially have the ability to take advantage of all 11 dimensions. But I cannot physically interact with anything whilst in those dimensions.
Well, it's like what I said. It's just planar shifting.
Yeah.
Like how we described it last time.
well,
kind
you're-
of.
You're basically God behind a glass wall.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Bye.
Well, that's it for today's episode. Be sure to join us on the next episode where we will continue to debate as good friends do. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube and stay up to date on all things Asshat and to participate in polls and activities throughout the week based on the themes of the upcoming episodes.
We also started a Patreon for those of you who are interested in showing your support in a more direct way. On our Patreon, we have a ton of bonus content, including tier lists, loser dinners, and bonus podcast episodes.
We want to continue making content that makes you think, smile, and especially laugh. And the best way that you guys can help us do that, leave a like or a comment, download and share all these episodes with your friends and family members who you think would enjoy our tomfoolery, our shenanigans, and all those other crazy words that encapsulate our content.